Hello, Matthew.
Hello,
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, you're the owner of Snuggle House in Madison.
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm going to be asking you some personal questions tonight.
All right,
That's okay?
sure.
Okay. I bet you weren't expecting the amount of controversy that.
I no, I expected a little bit, but it's kind of a little over the top at this point.
So, why did you decide to open the Snuggle House?
Well, I decided because when I first saw the idea, I felt intuitively it was perfect because I had been through a really hard time and I knew that the power of touch was so profound. And when I talked to Jackie in New York, who I heard the idea from, she mentioned how they had no incidents and everything was great and the people were loving it. And I said, man, I got to do this.
Okay, and that's the Snuggery
Yes.
in New York?
Yeah.
Okay. And how would you say your Snuggle House differs from other places such as the Snuggery? They're all over the United States. Colorado has one.
Yeah.
Alabama.
Yep. Well, there's one big difference in that the people that own those other businesses controlled their business. They actually got to implement what they felt was necessary and they've had no incidents to report, none of them. We, because of the scrutiny, had to like overly kind of secure things. It's not a bad thing, but um, we were everything that they were, but then a lot more of the security. You know, we had to camera people all the time. We had to record every session and do background security, credit card deposits, and so it was a little more comprehensive, which wasn't a bad thing. But we were everything that we got from them, and we just kind of functioned it to work within the capacity that the city wanted us to operate within.
Okay.
So
So when you first started to put everything together,
yeah,
you said that initially you had to put together all these different rules and guidelines and security
yeah.
measures. What prompted that?
Well, what prompted it was we were, full swing, gung ho, ready to go, and we were getting all this attention on Facebook, and people were interested in wanting a job and also doing the snuggling, and it was kind of a match made in heaven. That's what we perceived. But then I got a call from the landlord, and he said, "Hey, the city attorney wants to talk to you." And I said, "Why?" And he says, "Oh, why do you think?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." And he says, "Well, it's probably because of the business you're running." And I said, "Okay, well, tell her I'm here." And so she came down, and that was the spark where the kind of everything shifted towards, uh, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this, and all these variables came into place. And I thought, well, those are good questions, but um, it just seems like it's a little over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from my perspective, it seemed a little bit excessive. And then the whole accusations were really kind of terrible. Where the whole question, is this a prostitution ring in disguise, is pretty much an implied statement. And when that was on the media over and over and over, it's kind of like baiting the whole thing, saying, "Hey, it's a prostitution ring." And I guess that was the first straw that almost broke the camel's back.
And that was before it even opened.
That was before it even opened, before we even had a lick of business, before the beds were even set up, or it was very preposterous, and it was very damaging emotionally for all of the snugglers. In fact, we lost virtually all of our staff. I lost everybody initially, and then just because of the desire that Lonnie and Jennifer had to really want to do this, they actually came back around and wanted to do it. But I lost everybody throughout that. I call it a smear campaign almost, but that's kind of what happened.
I have to ask you.
Yes.
So, was it a house of prostitution?
No, definitely not.
Was it intended to be?
Never. No.
That was never your
No.
intention.
You would have to be a complete idiot to go into it with that. Well, I'm not saying I'm not a complete idiot, but you would have to be pretty crazy to want to even go there. And that wasn't the desire. It wasn't about that. You know, those places already exist in the area. We don't have to get into that. What I'm talking about is cuddling is therapeutic,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't. There's no such thing in Madison. So you always look for this niche or where there's a void. And you know, I was in the ER over 2 dozen times, and I know what it's like to feel like nobody cares because they won't. You know, when you go to these places, they don't touch you, and you could be sitting there. I would be shaking for 5 hours sometimes, and nobody would touch you. And then I used to have to hire people from care.com, and I'd have caretakers come over. And one night I had an episode, and usually they had to call the ambulance on those episodes. And she just came over and gave me a hug. And I started to calm down after about 10 minutes. And it was a PTSD attack. You know, I had a history of that. And that's when I got it. I knew that, hey, this is really cool. You know, this worked. This saved me. An ER visit is $2,000 plus usually. So, um, do the math.
So that was a much more expensive snuggle session.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're gonna back up a couple steps here.
Yeah.
So we heard that you had multiple roadblocks.
Yes, there were some roadblocks, definitely.
There was the prostitution concern.
Yeah.
Madison police were concerned with.
Well, sexual harassment would be the next thing, and that's I do believe that was legitimate. I was glad that they brought that up because that's definitely an issue. So we did put procedures in place for that.
Okay.
And then the occupation permit and the building permit, those were roadblocks, and we had actually secured the building permit, but the city attorney's office put a hold on it, and they wouldn't let us have it. And then the story came out that we had failed to get our permits, and well, yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading there was, you know, we have an associate that did go, had a snuggle session.
Yeah.
And he was very excited about it. And he was giving me updates, and he said, "Oh, it's been delayed again.
Oh,
They're not able to open yet."
Yeah, it was very bad.
And how many times did that happen?
We had to refund people sometimes up to 3 times because we were ready to go, and then you know we were told we had to take these deposits in order to get people to pass their backgrounds because their credit card had to line up with their identity. So we got a deposit, and then you know maybe a week out their session would be, or 3 days, and then we had to delay. So we just said, okay, we'll refund you because we don't know when we're going to open. We had no idea. And then we were told we were going to open again, and then we started taking on clients again, and then something else happened, and we refunded everybody. And then the third time, we started actually getting some appointments.
So I bet, I mean, with people having to reschedule that many times and getting their refunds and
Yeah.
Did you lose a lot of business?
No, we lost quite a bit, but we still had quite a bit of business when we did open up for a couple weeks. So.
And you referenced just now in your answer that we were told we had to. Who was telling you?
Well, it came down to the insurance thing was huge because they wanted to see that we had insurance, and in a business that's never been insured, this type of business, we could not get the insurance for the actual establishment. What I did, though, is I did something that nobody else had done, is I found through I think it was the Energy Medicine Association, I got them to look at our training manual, which was 100 plus pages, and then see the certificates that I issued the snugglers. And they took on therapeutic cuddling as a modality, and they issued us individual insurance on each one of the practitioners. So they had $1 million coverage on each of them. But as far as the shell, the building, that took us weeks and weeks. And my attorney said it's not a good idea to open unless you get all these things, because the city's kind of, that's what they're asking for. And again, no other business out there doing snuggling has done these insurance things. So we got denied by virtually everyone. We had brokers and agents and all these people looking for it. And finally we got a quote back, and to get the insurance for the building was $10,000 a year. So about 800, maybe even more than that. So between that and legal fees, we were already way off of our
Mm-hmm.
initial budget. But that wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back either, really. So
We'll get to that.
yeah,
Yeah.